And now it's gonna get more into digitization, I promise you that. It's getting more into AI from the CFO, from the banking, but also with the ESG internalization aspect. And let me put it that way, Mark, Merz is a company that has been evolving over years and years. Where do you think you stand, and shall you be ahead of the curve? Shall you be even higher in a transformation path?
Yeah, thank you very much, Wiebke, for having me here. Maybe let me introduce Merz just with 2 sentences, because what I also heard yesterday when we met together, Merz, is very often people think of Merck, because this is our bigger brother, right? We are just 1 kilometer from here with our global headquarter, and some of you might know us from Merz Spezialdragees or TTZ, which are famous brands that we have on the market. Actually, our biggest business is a toxin that a lot of people know from Botox. So we are very big in aesthetics industry, we are very big in ethical industry, globally in 35 markets. And as a matter of fact, ESG transformation is something that is already for many years in the part of our portfolio. For instance, we have already 6 years back invented a toxin that is not needed to put in the fridge, and that is saving every year 50,000 tons when we carry it around, and we are the only one in the market doing that. So we feel that it's great to be invited here, that ESG has always been in our lifeblood.
And digitization?
Digitization is something that, as a German mid-sized company, frankly, we are a bit behind the curve. I have joined the company 10 years ago, and we have always kind of observed what is in the market, what is happening, and then came across with it. SAP, for instance, has been invented 2 years ago in our company. We just had a few legal entities in it. So we are there, more behind the curve. I think ESG is something that is much more prominent on our agenda.
Thank you. We're going to come back to that later on. Matti, when we were talking last week, you were saying we see Bilfinger as the transition beneficiary. And this is a sentence by the CFO, not the CSO.
Yeah. It's interesting, we don't have a CSO.
Good.
Because sustainability is our core business. Yeah? Basically, we sell sustainability, and Bilfinger has a long tradition, and I've been part of the construction business for a long time. But today we are an industrial services provider, and we can talk about ESG for a long time, but somebody has to do it. Somebody has to implement it, and we're part of the implementation. We learned from Matthias that they're challenging their supply chain. We're one of the suppliers of Bayer that are being challenged, and but we help to transform what I would call a gray industry into something that's green. It makes no sense to eliminate our industry, but we need to be part of the transformation. Let me give you an example. Chemical industry is very much relying on electricity, on power. And how is it generated today? It's coal-fired, it's gas-fired, and we're all moving into greener energy, be it hydropower, be it nuclear, outside Germany, obviously. And we help build those plants, and we help our clients to transform from a fossil fuel energy to green energy.
Give me one more example, dig deeper on the success story where you combined ESG necessity, maybe pushed by your customer, and digitization, automation.
Digitization, we're not inventing anything, we're sort of applying what's out there. For example, take drones. Yeah? We use drones for inspection purposes when we look at pipes and pumps. We use virtual reality to train our people on simple things like welding procedures. So those are just some examples. We use artificial intelligence for predictive maintenance to really predict when something fails. So digitization is big for us in applying what's out there.
To prevent downside risk.
to prevent pretty much downtime. A production facility has to operate at a 100%, and whenever there is something that breaks down, you should know it way beforehand, so that you can plan for the breakdown, use some other part of the facility, and not have an interruption. An unexpected interruption of production is the worst thing that anybody wants to have.
Thanks. Eddy, what makes that to a banker if you hear all those success stories?
Makes us proud, because since 1906, ING defines the first time something like a sustainability strategy. So it's deep, deep, deep in the core DNA of who we want to bank with. And to be frank, how we want to help in transition, and everything what you described just right now is something that landed. So almost, if you work at ING, you become an enthusiast about sustainability and about digital. So therefore, we are extremely proud to be 5 years now, Corinna has gone, being partner here in this fantastic conference at the Frankfurt Digital Finance. But when you speak about sustainability, it is exactly that companies, corporates, individuals realize we are on a journey, we have a changing environment, and yes, we start doing things, and we start doing things different because the world is changing. And yeah, we are just a facilitator, to be very frank, as a bank. We got a bigger role in the concept of regulatory framework, but nevertheless, we are just a facilitator and a helper in this process.
Still, digitization and ESG transformation are changing the whole landscape for banks, for banking industry.
Yes.
Yeah. Where are the competitions in between a bank, in between ING, to answer digitization as a key for ESG transformation?
Digital goes more in the way we communicate, we process. All this will go into the area of digitization. It's another helper. Sustainability, in our point of view, is really more an idea how the world should be. So we have climate change, we have ethics, we have the way how we govern. And digitization is just making it easier and smoother and error-freer. So it plays with each other rather than against each other.
Yeah. It helps each other, absolutely.
It needs to help each other.
Yeah.
Because when you were asking a pretty cool question to Jörg before, stick or carrot? And I was thinking, by far too early, stick. Yes, we at one point of time we need sticks to be able to stick to rules. We need to be clear. We need to be able to compare. Therefore, the ISSB is important. But today we need carrots. We need to have enthusiasts. We need to get passionate about it.
Yeah. If you have time, read the new corporate governance codex, because it was rewritten last year, 2 years ago, to internalize and to have more carrots in there. And if you are German-speaking, Institutsvergütungsverordnung would be the paper to sleep for tonight. Because this is also the internalization effect for companies. As a CFO of a corporate, what would you ask a bank to be more to help you in that transformation?
It's good that you asked me, Wiebke, because we are actually, for the 110 years that we have behind us, we have no bank credit yet, so everything is equity focused. So banks are talking to us about the future, and so do I. So frankly, when we invest into ESG, there are a lot of ideas that we have on hand. One element that I didn't mention in the digitization is the patient journey, that for the pharma industry is very important, because we use resources in order to inject the toxin, we want to minimize it, we want to bring it to the right muscle at the body, and there artificial intelligence helps us, and there is massive investment that we need. For this one, we will, over the next decade, reach out to banks in order to help us in that journey.
Thanks. Super. It's a strategic advisor combination. Matti, how about you? What would you ask banks to be more?
I cannot complain about Eddy Bank, to be honest. Yeah. They came to the table last year when we went to a financing round. Yeah. We have a sort of an ESG component in our funding. I think it's the last time that we did without a strong ESG link. That will happen next time, I'm sure. We are in the process of preparing ourselves there. I think the banks, they should be very strict in selecting their clients and sort those out that don't comply, because then the competition is fair rather than unfair.
No carrots.
Different. So we have, with about 2,000 clients already, transition plans discussed and debated. And it's not so much about, are you already today following it? And then we make a hard stop. It's really more, are you entering into a journey? Do you understand that the world and your market is changing? How do you react to this? So it comes back to the risk point you mentioned earlier. And we see ourselves as a challenger, yes, and as well sometimes to show a red sign in terms of, hey, this is definitely not enough. If you take a 10-year view or a 15-year view, and then comes the financing, of course, as well. Fine, we do that, of course, as well. But it is still a carrot, and it's advisory, it's honest dialogues, brainstormings about a changing world, and a bank has a role to share observations, what we see perhaps in other industries, to see how they do, what kind of challenges they face due to the changing environment.
The banks are really pushing us, and I think that's good.
The politics is pushing the financial industry. It's marvelous that we haven't stressed CSRD once in the last 30 minutes. We will do in the next 30 seconds, I hope. But if you got pushed by the political side as a financial industry, you have to push it further. I would like to add, ESG needs to be internalized in the mainstream financing. So please never think of any more financing without ESG figures for your company in the future anymore. Never.
No, we don't.
Good.
And as I said, the banks need to be pushing it. They're doing a good job. They need to understand their customers. We just completed the first time looking at Scope 3 emissions. And it's quite interesting. Our Scope 1 and 2 emissions is about 40,000 tons of CO2 equivalents. Scope 3 is 20 times that much. So it's 800,000 tons. If we are measured on just Scope 1 and 2, it's very easy for us. But as soon as they start measuring us on Scope 3, things become a different ballgame. And that is something that we need to discuss with the banks and the funding institutions.
And that's why, and Scope 3, you're probably all familiar with it. We are talking about the global warming emissions, and we are talking about Scope 1 in the closed shop of your corporate or company. We're talking with Scopes 2, anything on the supplier chain, and Scope 3 is the massive and broad overview. And what we do now is internalizing by CSRD, Corporate Sustainable Reporting Directive, that is asking companies to do a double materiality. And now we have one more theory minute and then the last statements of the wonderful gentleman to my right. If you understand that as a company you have an impact on ecosystems and on the society, and then you understand that there is an impact from ecosystems and society into your company, and plus you have the double materiality that it's not only the financial impact, but it's the material and social and ecological impact you were talking about, then carbon gets price, then carbon gets an understanding on Scope 3 emissions, then we have an understanding on the responsibility for each of us in that ecosystem to reduce that Scope 3 by understanding where it is, by analyzing with digitization and with AI where Scope 3 is really the hurting part, and then we talk again on that. What would you, Eddy, being known to the Frankfurt Digital Finance and knowing the digital Frankfurt Finance, what would you recommend the audience to bear in mind for the next 1.5 days when recapping?
Okay, so, wow. Sustainability is happening. The world is changing. Everything what we do not change today and start thinking about how to invest will get more expensive. Sustainability costs money, but if we don't spend it now, it costs significant more. And we can complain about reporting guidelines, and we can complain about administration. And And I would love to have a range rather than a strict guidance for the time being, because I really believe we need 2-3 more years to understand how to cope with it before we really get more strict. But nevertheless, just start reviewing your business model, start reviewing the opportunity, because most of the companies, to be honest, see themselves as a winner in sustainability. There's a chance. Therefore, but whatever you don't do today costs times more in a few years. So therefore, get started.
Super. Thank you. Last question to you, Mark. When does it get disruptive with AI, with Merz?
Well, Merz actually is looking into many different things. There is a vast opportunity that we have on the table. So frankly, the most disruptive for us will be when we use it for R&D. Because our research and development, obviously in pharma, is like 20% or 25% of our budget globally that we invest. And out of this, about 1/3 we invest in medical writing. So really putting hundreds of pages together so that we get the entry ticket and all the registrations to produce and to market our products in the US, in China, in Japan, in Brazil, where we are. And all these hundreds of pages, I think with ChatGPT, OpenAI, we could immediately kind of reiterate for many of our molecules that we have in the market. We have seen many DAX companies that we are monitoring that their AI has already been disruptive. And again, we are following that, and that will be an impressive impact. The patient journey, as I said before, is something that we are just in the beginning phase, because for us, the injection of the toxin is really the winner in the market. If we want to convince the doctor to come from competition, which is 10 times bigger, which is AbbVie, they want to change to us, we can only do it with training and in telling them that our efficacy of the product is much better. So this is the other very disruptive impact that AI will have, and we hope that we are ahead of the curve there.
Matti, how about you? Rather the disruptive, or what do you recommend, Christian?
I think it's both. Yeah. Some things have to be disruptive to really make an impact. But what we see is all of our clients are forced to go to net zero. It's a journey, so it does take time, and they need to be smart about, as said before, where you are disruptive and where you just take it a bit easy and you're careful with your investments. If I take sort of the conference name apart, it's digital and it's finance. Money makes the world go round. Yeah? So it's good that money is really pushing sustainability and CO2 reduction. It wouldn't be working without it. And digitalization, I think sustainability is a lot about data. Yeah? We need data, and the more data we can push around, analyze, and work with, the better it is. And there's digitalization is going to help disruptively and maybe also incrementally.
And let me just add to that one. And AI will solve us that problem, I believe. The data problem will help us. AI will help us to solve the data problem we have today. That's at least my strong belief on that.
And that's why I may end with a sentence that you gave me last week. See yourself as the transition beneficiary. Mark, Matti, Eddy, thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience and time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.